So I got back from seeing this patient tonight. They had leg wraps, specifically because of edema. This is where fluid just builds in your lower legs, and there's a number of reasons for it. But this patient is on hospice, and I was seeing because they called me in because the bandages had just been changed earlier that day, and they were just soaked through already. Just fluid and pus, like, everywhere. It didn't smell bad or anything, it just was like so wet and damp. But what happens is the edema in her legs got really bad, and there's a lot of neuropathy down there, so there's these pustules that build up, just these big giant blisters, right? Filled with fluid, like 3 inches. I wouldn't say circumference, but like the diameter even was like 3 inches big, and it was just full. So I had to be careful wrapping it. But it was just so sad. Like, I remember just feeling really sad for this patient. They were hooked up to a CPAP machine. They couldn't breathe. They couldn't even talk. Something was stuck in their throat, and they were kind of aspirating or choking on the saliva because they weren't even able to breathe very well, and I just felt terrible as I'm wrapping these legs, and I'm just thinking to myself, we could do so much more for this person, not just to wrap their legs, but like, I've had this discussion before, but just felt so bad for this patient, and that they were still here just waiting to die. How much suffering and leakage from their legs did they need to go through? I mean, how terrible for them. And then they have to lay there, unable to get up. They weren't ambulatory, so they're unable to get up, and they have to let people come in and wrap their legs. They can't even really speak, and they're just leaking fluid all over the bed, all of the time. This patient wasn't morbidly obese, but I think there was some complications with, could potentially be diabetes, just hypertension, old age. It was just terrible. Like, why couldn't this patient be allowed to leave? What are they holding on to for? They're in a facility. It's not like their family's there with them 24/7. Their family is at home somewhere. There wasn't a significant other person in there. So all this person had at the end of their life was people that they didn't know wrapping their legs, kind of stopping up the holes from leaking, choking on saliva with nothing but a television box in their room. And it just made me sad, because I've been going through loneliness and being by myself, and nobody's coming and waiting on me. I'm able to go out and have some independence if I choose to, but this person had no independence. And what is their quality of life? What are they living for? Like, if they don't want to live anymore, and I've met so many people that don't want to live anymore, but our society says that they have no choice. And I'm a much bigger proponent for this kind of a choice than, say, something like abortion, where a baby doesn't have this choice. And I feel like we shouldn't be kind of... I know there's a lot of heated discussion about this, but I feel like we should be talking less about abortion and more about end-of-life care for the elderly, and having a decision at the end. having a much more decision. We sort of have a decision with the DNR, but not really. You know, these babies don't get assigned a DNR. You know, they like, let's take the focus off of abortion and talk about getting people out of this world a lot better. Instead of cutting these kids off at the, when they're just starting. you know, if we're allowed to kill these kids in utero, even ones that are just about to come out, like, why can't we choose in our old age to end things? And I'm not talking that I don't believe that should even be considered, like any kind of a suicide at all. I just like so much more reform needs to happen. We need. Anyway, just broke my heart. It breaks my heart at the more that I'm here. Although I guess I haven't worked in a labor and delivery, but I have children, and I don't know. There are other options for children that are unwanted, through adoption. There just are other options. But there seemingly is no option when you get old. How you leave this world, you don't have an option how to leave. But I guess you don't really have an option coming in either. So, I guess, I don't know. I just want more options when I'm that age, I want, when I'm 85 and up, if I make it that long, I want the option to go out on my terms. And I just don't think that we should, leave it up to our patients to have a failed suicide attempt because they're ready to go, They're wanting like an OD on morphine and they mess it up or something like that, and they're still around and now they're suffering even more. Like, I think, I don't know. I think it's a different story, I guess, if you're younger. But after a certain age point, maybe we should have reform where that is an option, especially if the whole family's agreed on it, and especially, the person, most of all, that's sitting there laying on the bed, weeping out of their legs, not wetting the bed through their brief, although they were incontinent as well, but also wetting the bed through their legs. That just doesn't sound like something that I would want to live through. But it's I don't know why we don't give the people that have lived and suffered through their lives no choice, but they have to go and suffer all the more at the very end, more so than any other time in their life, like physically, because their body is dying. Why are we letting them suffer through the whole dying process? Hospice, we give morphine to keep people out of pain, but that's just not enough. Just being there out of pain, laying there, unable to move, just because you're not in pain doesn't mean it's not painful. Up in the head, mentally, emotionally, it's terrible. It's excruciating, and we just prolong that as long as possible. Not on hospice. Hospice is really good, but I wish we had more options for these patients. Patients that are done, that don't want to be here anymore. The 98-year-old lady or man that is unable to do anything fulfilling in their life. What do you tell them? I have no idea what to tell these people. I am so sorry, but you're gonna have to suck it up. Like, that's pretty much the gist of it. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. What, old age? I shouldn't have to tell him I'm sorry.